While everyone followed their own pace, Jungkook chose not to leave his side. He preferred to watch over Taehyung rather than move forward with the others. When the group went to practice skating, everyone began to focus on improving their moves. Each took their own space to move freely. However, Taehyung showed something different. It was clear he wasn't entirely confident on the rink. He struggled to maintain his balance and stopped several times. Despite this, one thing didn't change: Jungkook never left his side. From the beginning to the end of the video, Jungkook stayed by his side, watching his every move and reacting quickly whenever Taehyung hesitated. The other members continued their practice without paying attention to him, but Jungkook chose to stay. He didn't seem to care about advancing in his own steps or demonstrating anything. All he did was wait, guide, and be close to Taehyung during every attempt. The kind of help he offered wasn't just physical, it was complete attention. He watched him as he walked, held his hand when necessary, and whenever he fell, he was the first to reach out and pick him up without saying a word. That behavior wasn't repeated with anyone else. Jungkook didn't act the same way with others, he only did it with Taehyung. This shows a bond where there's no need to speak to understand what the other person needs. Every gesture Jungkook made had a purpose. He didn't push him to move faster, he didn't leave him behind. He accompanied him at the pace Taehyung could manage. And if he fell, Jungkook immediately reached out his hand. Not once, but every time. He didn't watch him from afar. He was so close that he could react without thinking. When Jungkook tastes Taehyung's food to make sure it's not too spicy, he's not being nice, he's being his man, he's taking care of what belongs to him. In many moments, we've seen how Jungkook acts with total dedication toward Taehyung. These aren't mere details, but a constant behavior that reflects a clear priority. Jungkook protects, cares for, and is attentive to every single thing Taehyung does. A direct example is when Jungkook tastes the food before Taehyung eats it, just to make sure it's not too spicy. This isn't a random gesture, it's something he doesn't repeat with anyone else in the group. This makes it clear that it's not something automatic or casual, it's something exclusive. Jungkook doesn't act this way with anyone else, and that kind of care only occurs when the connection has a deeper meaning. We can also mention the moment when Taehyung holds a knife while they're cooking, and Jungkook warns him to be careful. The phrase seems simple, but the way he says it and the timing reveal a protective attitude that has been constant over time. This attitude doesn't stem from routine, but from a real need to ensure Taehyung is okay at all times. In every interaction, it's clear that Jungkook is attentive to Taehyung's every movement, word, and expression. And his every action confirms that he can't bear the thought of anything happening to him. At another point, Jungkook is also seen helping Taehyung in the kitchen, a simple activity that transforms into something intimate when gestures are repeated only between them. The constant contact, the detailed attention, and the shared moments make visible something that no longer needs explanation. These are routines full of meaning, because they are moments where there are no cameras or scripts, only spontaneous and natural reactions. When Jungkook gave Taehyung that direct, burning gaze, it wasn't a coincidence. It was a silent message that no one else in the group would have understood. In a situation observed by many, Jungkook looked at Taehyung with an intensity that couldn't be compared to any ordinary interaction. It wasn't a normal gaze. It was direct, charged with an energy that made all the difference. Taehyung felt that intensity from the first second. His reaction was immediate, with a shy expression, as if he understood that the way Jungkook was looking at him had another meaning. The situation began with a simple gesture. Jungkook stared at Taehyung, without saying a single word. The gaze was so strong that it completely changed the atmosphere between them. That gaze didn't demand attention, it demanded something more. It was a signal between them, a kind of command or wish that needed no explanation. Taehyung, upon receiving it, reacted by unzipping his jacket, as if that was exactly what Jungkook had been waiting for. This moment reveals something important: they don't need to speak to communicate. Every gesture makes sense, every silence says something. Jungkook didn't need to explain what he wanted. That look was enough for Taehyung to respond automatically, as if he'd understood for a long time. The interesting thing is that look wasn't cold or neutral. It was a look with intention. And that intention can only come from someone who feels something deep, someone who isn't observing from a distance, but with desire and real attention. The video shows how the relationship between Jungkook and Taehyung is built through actions, not conversations. From the moment they step onto the skating rink, Jungkook becomes the only constant at Taehyung's side. He doesn't pressure him or let him move alone. His approach is calm and firm. When Taehyung moves unsteadily, Jungkook doesn't just watch. He stands by his side, guides him with confident steps, and teaches him without much need for words. The dynamic between the two is evident in the way they interact physically. Jungkook takes his hand, guides him, and keeps him close. There's no distance between them. There are no pauses in his attention. While the other members are more focused on themselves, Jungkook remains attentive to every detail of what Taehyung does. Taehyung falls several times, and there's always one hand that appears first, Jungkook's. He doesn't wait for someone else to act, he does it immediately. The speed with which he reacts shows that he's familiar with these moments. He's been there before. And every time it happens, his response is the same. There's no need to think twice. He picks him up, looks at him, and returns to his place beside him. This way of acting isn't trained. It's something that comes from the connection they have. In these kinds of moments, what you see isn't accidental. It's no coincidence that Jungkook is always the one who's there when Taehyung needs support. It's not about being together only when everything is going well. It's about showing up when it's most difficult. And Jungkook doesn't just show up. He stays until the end. His attention isn't diverted. He doesn't try to teach harshly or correct from a distance. His way of caring is to be present and act before the other has to ask for help. This sets their relationship apart from others. It's not like the dynamics seen with other members. Nor is it related to public gestures for cameras or fans. What happens in this video is something natural between them. A way of communicating that doesn't require explanations or words. Taekookers don't need to justify what they see. Jungkook doesn't act that way with everyone. And Taehyung doesn't look to just anyone for help. He just leans on him. He only reacts calmly when he knows that hand lifting him up isn't going to disappear. When Taehyung tells Jungkook he doesn't know what he'd do without him, it's not just a romantic phrase, it's an acknowledgement of a long history, full of gestures that have marked the passage of time. Behind that phrase are many small scenes that Taehyung keeps as proof that Jungkook has been by his side through every important moment. It's a kind of connection where trust has become a habit. And when a habit is based on protection, daily care, and constant attention, what exists is no longer just affection, but an emotional need built over the years. Taehyung isn't exaggerating when he says that. He knows Jungkook has been a permanent fixture in his life. He doesn't just accompany him, he supports him. He has done so in visible moments and also in more silent ones, like when he cooks with him, watches him closely, or lovingly corrects him on an action. It's a bond that doesn't rely on words to feel real. These are people who no longer know how to live without each other's presence, and it shows in how comfortable they are when they are together. Every gesture Jungkook makes, whether it's tasting the food, warning about a knife, or simply being close, says that Taehyung matters more than anything else. And Taehyung responds with a calm and gentleness that only comes when someone feels completely cared for. That sense of security is what has made the two of them function as a team over time. There's no competition, just mutual presence. Jungkook acts as if it's his duty to protect Taehyung, and Taehyung acts as if he can't imagine a life without that kind of care. The memory of the beautiful moments filled with love and tenderness isn't something casually mentioned. It means that Taehyung not only feels loved, but actively values every moment with Jungkook. This kind of connection, built with daily actions, honest words, and protected moments, creates a very solid foundation. It's not an idealized love, it's a real one, made of shared routines, tried and tested meals, careful warnings, and comfortable silences. Taehyung and Jungkook aren't acting, they're sharing a life. And when someone says they can't be without each other, it's not because they need each other out of habit, but because they've learned to be better together. The way Jungkook looked at Taehyung can't be compared to the way someone sees any person close to him. It wasn't a simple expression of affection. It was a firm, directed gaze, with a tone that says more than any sentence could. That gaze was intense, clearly charged with desire. Jungkook wasn't just observing. He was making his presence felt. He was making it clear that the image of Taehyung, with his jacket slightly open, hadn't gone unnoticed. Taehyung's body was partially uncovered. And Jungkook reacted immediately. His gaze swept over him without hiding it. That action wasn't a coincidence, nor was it a distraction. It was a specific moment in which Jungkook decided to express with his gaze something that only Taehyung could capture. Maybe he didn't want it to be so obvious, or maybe he liked what he saw. But in any case, he didn't remain silent. He expressed it without words, with his eyes. That kind of gesture isn't shared by everyone. It's a reserved form of communication. It's private. It's not for the public. Jungkook doesn't look at other people that way. That difference is what makes it clear there's something special about Taehyung. It's not an isolated situation. These are repeated moments where Jungkook acts from a place of gentle control, where he decides when to say something, even if it's with his eyes. Taehyung's action of zipping up his zipper not only shows that he understood the message. It also shows that the dynamic between them is already established. There's no confusion. No doubt. Taehyung knew what Jungkook wanted to tell him. That fluidity only occurs when there's a constant relationship, or it's no longer necessary to speak to understand each other. Looks carry weight because there's a story behind them that gives them meaning. The scene doesn't end with that gesture. The impact lies in how both react. Jungkook holds his gaze steady. Taehyung responds without annoyance. It's as if this game between them already has clear rules. A gesture, a reaction, a response. A relationship is about knowing how to read the small signs and acting according to what the other person expects. And in that look, there was nothing neutral. It wasn't superficial. It was a real moment, with a strong intention, a clear sign of desire that only someone who feels strongly can sustain without fear.